Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Welcome to Industries Live. It's so great to be back again. My absolute favorite time of the week. It is Tuesday. I'm here on the West Coast in Seattle. My name is Michael Schmidt, and I'm your host together with Jason, excuse me, for this episode of Industries Live. We have some very exciting content for you today. We have two of our very special partners that are going to join us shortly. We've just got back from IBC, which is the International Broadcasters Conference in Amsterdam, where we've been talking to a lot of customers and partners about what they're seeing in the industry transitions, what their customers are asking for, and particularly the heavy theme, of course, was AI and what is happening with agents and what impact it's making in the industry and for our customers and our partners' business. So Jason and I are very, very excited to have some conversation this morning with Bluin from Accedo, which is going to be great. And then also Hydrolix, Dave is going to be joining us after in the second half of our show from Hydrolix. So looking forward to those conversations. As I said, Industries Live is our bi-weekly, every other Tuesday show where we talk to customers and partners about what they're seeing in the industry transitions, as I said, what's going on and what are the opportunities that we're seeing for our customers and partners to really accelerate their journey and really kind of change the game and impact and disrupt their industry for their customers. It's my favorite time of the week, as I said before. It's something that we take an enormous amount of joy in seeing the impact of what's happening in the market, what the incredible work our teams are doing. So without any further ado, I'll introduce myself to start with, and then I'm going to introduce Jason. So my name is Michael Schmidt. As I said before, I look after the industry partnerships here at AWS, based here in Seattle, Washington. It is somewhat sunny outside. We're just seeing the end of summer here, so a beautiful day to be talking Agentic AI. Why don't I introduce my co-host, Jason O'Malley. So nice to see you this morning, Jason. How are you going, and what's the weather like in Chicago today?
I'm doing great. Yeah, Michael, I'm doing great. But great to be back in Chicago after Amsterdam. We for the International Broadcasting Conference, pretty nice, but I'm in Chicago. And speaking of location, so we do have our chat open on the side, and so it would be great to see it's always great to see where people are tuning in from. So please drop in the chat, let us know where you're tuning in from, and then also while we're talking today, feel free to drop in other questions and comments about what you're listening to. It'd be great to hear what's resonating with you and any questions you'd like to ask further. And with that, so yeah, I'm Jason. I'm a senior partner solutions architect. I'm part of Michael's team, and we work with industry partners. I focus on media and telecom partners. And so it's great to have two of our media partners on today, and we can dive deeper into some of the things they were seeing at the IBC conference and some of the things we had on display at the AWS booth.
Yeah, it was a super inspiring week, wasn't it? IBC is just one of those opportunities you get to talk to an enormous number of people, customers, partners, all in the same week about what's going on for them. I'll tell you, the weather wasn't so great in Amsterdam. I mean, it was pretty up and down. It is nice to get, people are going to be surprised to hear me say this, but it's nice to get back to some consistent weather in Seattle. But no, it's a fantastic opportunity to see partners from across the world talking about shared opportunities, shared problems, and we had some great conversation with Bluin and with David while we were in IBC. So super excited to catch up with people that we've been with only less than a week ago, and I think we're going to have a great show today. So why don't we? I see comments already popping in.
Yeah, we're pouring in already.
There you go. So without any further ado, Jason, I think we should bring on Bluin. So nice to have Bluin on the show and to have you join us. Bluin, we were together only a few days ago, and we're
I know.
And now you're back in Europe, and I'm in Seattle. Why don't we start by maybe Bluin, do you just want to introduce yourself and a little bit about Accedo, what Accedo does?
Yeah, thanks a lot for having me. We had a lot of debates in live in Amsterdam, so I'm really looking forward to continue the conversation that I had with you. So Bluin Ngofik, I'm VP Business Transformation. I'm currently based out of Stockholm, Sweden. It's getting a bit dark, but the sun is getting down here. So from the picture, I can tell you.
Exactly.
So about Accedo, we're a video solution provider. We're about 500 people across 15 offices in different regions in North America, in South America, in Europe, and in Asia, and Australia and New Zealand as well. We work exclusively with media and entertainment companies. Our customers are Paramount Plus, ITV, but also some more niche media services like Doc TV or regional broadcasters for certain region. And our mission is to help them creating and managing and operating and growing video services. So each of our customers and business partners, right, they have as a mission to engage, for some educate, for some more entertain. It depends. The large audience across the globe with great content, and they obviously have as a critical endeavor to monetize this as a business. So for us, we come from the technology era. We are engineers, we are product designers, we are quality assurance people. And along the way, we've been creating best practices, both in terms of software on top of AWS, but also in terms of services on how to actually drive success to our business partner, which are engaging them, all of us, with their content.
That's great. And yeah, Bluen, you've been.
Sorry, you go, Justin.
Yeah, it was great to see you last week, and you've been in. We had a couple different topics. I mean, one, you actually on the AWS booth with one of our XR demos, which was exciting that you had. But then one of the big things we were talking about there, and you've been talking about recently, is the theme of Agentic is a big thing with Accedo, but then also at the event, that was one of the major themes cutting across, definitely across the AWS booth, where we had a ton of that on display, but then also across the conference. Curious, how are you and Accedo thinking about that at the moment, and what are you hearing from customers on that?
Yeah, and I can walk you through a bit of our journey there, because it is a journey that all of us, I think, in across industries are trying to figure out, which is how do we benefit from AI, right? In bringing more efficiency to our operations, but also, and I think most importantly, and what I was grateful to hear this year at IBC finally, and not just about looking at optimization and simply looking at how do we do better with less, which is terrible as an endeavor, but actually more looking at the creation of new opportunities. So for us at Accedo, we've been obviously thinking about how do we engineer, how do we build those OTT platforms, so where you distribute video content? How do we make sure that our customer's brand is best represented? How do we make sure that not everything has to be a burden to release and launch? I'm sure that a lot of the audience, as they are very sort of having a fiber for technology, they will recognize that velocity is always something that has constrained creativity, right? Because you have to engineer, you have to design, you have to think about the scalability, and you have to think about how this will actually address the need of the end consumers with the right level of service. And the challenge sometimes is that this is quite costly to design, to build, to manage, and it's slow. And because of that, a lot of our focus has been around how do we make that a bit more optimized. So we looked first at AI, as a lot of companies, operational efficiency, as I said. We've done a lot of prototyping around building video apps with, vibe coding and a lot of different proof of concept. But we were still a bit challenged in, is that really where our biggest investment need to go? Is that the way that, because we would optimize what we're doing on an everyday basis, is that the biggest value we can create to our customers? And I can promise you I'm not being paid for saying this, but it's actually during an exchange with one of my close contact at AWS that we actually started to look at, okay, but what if we could, be a bit more creative with AI, think about how do we exemplify, how do we put a roadmap? I want to create more revenues. Okay, how I drill down this investment towards different features or different elements I would like to bring in my software. And then, okay, so how can actually AI accelerate some of those tasks? And then suddenly we were moving away from looking at what we're doing on a daily basis and trying to optimize it, and then looking more about, okay, what would be the great outcome for our customers, which is to potentially increase revenue in that way. And then we were trying to, ideally, we would want to do this. Okay, is that possible? How would we think about it? And then, so we sort of reversed the thinking, and that's how we came to Agentic AI. So Agentic AI for us was really not about a pure, simple optimization play, but more sort of starting to think in terms of, okay, there are a lot of things that we need to do in a media company in order for us to increase revenue or to increase engagement, etc. Can we actually map that out? Can we actually create a workflow out of it? And how can we compose this roadmap? And suddenly, with this new thinking, we realized that we could accelerate the fact to create new opportunities. So for me, this was a bit the biggest trend at IBC in this media conference, where you have companies, CTOs, that are talking about growth and increased revenues. This is not exactly the terms I've heard in CTOs' mouths for a long time, right? So this was the CTO of ITV and the CTO of Warner Bros. That are talking about with a financial voice, with new growth in mind. So it was interesting. I think
it's a big shift, isn't it, Blue? And I was just going to double click on something you said there. I mean, I think there's definitely been a pivot that I've seen in customer thinking around. You sort of mentioned it before, is that historically there's this sense of like, we realize we have to engage with AI. We realize we have to do something about it because everyone does it, but we don't really know what. We want to experiment, we want to try it, but it seems so hard. The journey is long. It's hard to get our data all into one place. It's like, what, I guess we have to do this. But I also agree with you. I think the sort of pivotal moments for me at IBC was where I saw customers really looking at opportunities to differentiate their business, to streamline and optimize workloads, to increase revenue, to operationally lower cost, to look at opportunities to accelerate their business. So really looking at it as an opportunity rather than there's something we should do or we're going to miss some boat, which I thought was like very optimistic. You and I talked, we were on a panel together, which we talked a lot about one of the big kind of barriers to entry that a lot of people feel is like, have I got a common data fabric? Do I have all my data where it needs to be make the use of AI? And I think the AI story in general, people are becoming a lot more understanding of the fact that it's a journey, not a destination. It's that you don't need this utopian world to be able to start figuring out what the opportunities are for you. It's definitely a path to being able to have a more agentic and AI leveraged world, but it's not. It doesn't have to happen overnight. So I thought that was very interesting in the narrative that I heard from customers last week.
And maybe I can jump on this because I think this was, to me, I mean, I have somewhat of an engineering background a long time ago. This has disappeared in the dark side of business development and strategy somewhere along the line. But eventually, I still have this empathy for technology, right? And when we started to look into, I think the AI matter for me. Data was somehow an old topic because we've been talking about data for a long time. A lot of softwares are providing data. I mean, We have a lot of vendors that are creating data, observing data. I mean, all of this was already very much instilled. But what I realized, and this is, I think, one opportunity of having companies that are looking across different industries, is that as we are getting more and more digitalized across industries, as we are looking a lot about, digital monetization and engagement of an audience on digital tools, I think it was quite interesting for me to hear from different talk about use cases that are being brought from other industries. And suddenly thinking that, the insurance industry or the retail industry were actually looking at the potential of AI in a very different way, in optimization, but also creation of potential growth. So if you look at companies like, I'm not going to quote Amazon, but let's say Booking.com, or you look at Marriott, or you look at Coca-Cola, or you look at these kind of companies that have been looking at the digital experience and actually optimizing and personalizing, hyper-personalizing the experience for you in their shop, in online, etc. They have been dealing with data and customer journey optimization for many years. But somehow this wasn't really applied to us in media and entertainment, because we have other constraints. We had such a fragmentation of technology. Streaming is still a hard thing to do somehow. So we couldn't really benefit from the other industry innovation. And I think now, not being such a in the detail of the technology itself, I feel now I can level up thanks to Agentic AI, where I don't need to necessarily understand the depth of every technology pieces, but I actually can relate to use cases, and I can start to talk about business outcomes, and I can start to talk about, okay, what is your software aiming at doing? How is it going to share data with the others? How do you then share your roadmap? There is a lot of different aspect to Agentic AI, which I feel makes us elevating a bit the discussion from the actual technology constraint to actually talking about the business case, and that across industries. So that was very interesting for me, as well as learning this year.
I agree. And I thought that was insightful, coming to visit you at the Accedo booth and kind of seeing how you and Accedo were thinking about this and pulling together those technologies, but definitely with that focus on what's the return on investment, the TCO, and the value it can bring. I'm curious, it might be a good time to talk about how you're thinking about, looking at that landscape, and then what are some of the ways Accedo is looking to sort of capitalize on this dynamic change within the industry and the technology landscape, and pulling that all together.
Yeah, I'm very happy that we can talk about a solution that we've brought to IBC with a partner of ours and a partner of AWS called Merapar. So Merapar is an expert in cloud and data management on top of AWS, and I've been working with media and entertainment customers as well, and with us along the years. And we've been bringing a solution called Accedo Compose to the market. And the idea with Accedo Compose was, okay, we have been talking about the need to understand what kind of business outcome should we aim at working on as an ecosystem of vendors and expertise, right, within the customer. So you have a marketing department, sustainability department, an engineering department, an operational department, etc. You have a finance department as well. You have a lot of stakeholders that are all working on making this business viable, right, and growing. We need to connect all these people's and their expertise into a platform where they can actually have a common goal together. So this business outcome, if you want to focus on increased engagement or you want to focus on combating churn, for example, we need to be able to set the common goal, but then we need to let all these different department expertise software being able to drive their own action to contribute to the progress towards that business outcome. And this is how Agentic AI came into the picture. So Accedo Compose is an Agentic AI engine, which is relying on a data foundation, and that altogether is going to run workflows on any OTT platform. An OTT platform is a video streaming platform, and that's the terminology we use in the media and entertainment industry. And the idea is that you could give it a certain aim, and because of AI, not only this workflow of action will not be prescriptive, which is the way it is with software when you actually code every scenario of a workflow. When you're leveraging AI, you will be able to be less prescriptive, more contextual, but also having a constant evolution and assessment of that workflow to be enhanced to reach that outcome. So if we want to, I can show quickly a demo. Maybe that would be easier to understand.
Because I love the way that you've designed it, even though there is a lot of technical complexity behind it. It's just the way that you've designed this to be very, I'd say, like consumable by a broad audience within an organization. I really like that. So it'd be great to see a quick walkthrough of it.
Yeah, let's show the screen then. Okay, so this is Accedo Compose. As I said, the idea with Accedo Compose is that we should be able to unite different departments to actually contribute, design, act on workflows and govern on those workflows while your OTT service is running. The idea with Compose is that you should be able to have those common goals that you've set up as a company, and each customer will be able to set their own business goals to reach, and then they will decide on a certain amount of workflows that needs to contribute to that goal, right? If you have a reduction of your cost that you're trying to aim at doing, you will have different workflows that will be contributing to reducing your total cost of ownership, for example. So this platform is really there to actually tie the business outcome that you reach to you aim to achieve with actual workflows that you want, you believe as an expert in media, in selling video content and engagement to actually contribute to that goal. So the way that this would work is that this overall platform would enable you to design workflows. Those workflows will run either autonomously or in Copilot or in manual mode. And I'm sure that a lot of you in the audience are familiar with the context of having a co-piloting experience, is that you will be able to follow the steps of the workflow and being able to interact with it and decide on it. So let's take an example very quickly. Here we will be working towards an outcome which is stabilizing quality. We have designed a workflow which is looking at a video playback error. And when we said that we are designing a workflow, what do we mean? Is that we actually will design based on expertise that we have within our customers' media team, but also with us as a vendor and other partners that we have. We will design a workflow of agents that will detect, that will analyze, and then that will act. So if you can see, for example, in the context of a video error playback, you would have an agent that will monitor the overall video experience. You will have agents that will analyze the type of errors, and then you will have agents that will act. But the beauty of thinking at a business level is that we don't need to just act in a certain silo of the organization. We don't need just to fix the issue. We obviously need to fix the issue, the video error issue, but we also need to think about, okay, maybe we should contact the end user afterwards. Maybe we should offer them a discount on their next monthly bill. Maybe we should also escalate internally that we have buffering issues. And all of these workflows will be then assessed by their performance and being contextualized so that they can perform better next time. So this is really, I will show you very, very quickly how this is being done. You obviously are having this constantly in production, a lot of different workflows happening. Some of the workflows will require a decision from the human, like, for example, here you have been informed that you have a problem. The AI agent will contact you saying, you have a problem. This is the solution. This is what we think as an agent you should actually do. You can approve for the solution to be applied, and then you will be able to see the different steps of the workflow being achieved, but still remain in control of the overall experience. So that's what Compose is. This is really about for us to rethink about the way that we work, tie this to business outcome, and bridge the gap between different silos, between different teams, right, within our respective organization. And hopefully, yes, that can optimize, but that also can enable new opportunities, because one thing is, of course, to combat churn, but another thing can be to increase revenue.
Especially with the cost to acquire a new subscriber is so high that anything you do, that's super important to the bottom line of a streaming platform. So, but in the past, trying to take all these different data points, make sense of them, especially in a time that you can capture that customer's satisfaction level, has been a challenge. And so it's really, I love the way you visualize this in the Compose platform. So thanks for walking us through this.
I agree, Jason. One of the great things I've seen with all of the agentic use cases, I think the one thing that's common between all of them is the ability to distill broad data points to distill into simple messages. And I thought that the graphical representation of that, Boone, is fantastic. It was super popular. It was on your stand at different times, and we talked through it. It was very, very popular and extremely interesting to everybody who looked at it. So thank you so much for joining us. I can't believe we were almost out of time. It's so nice to see you again, Boone. Just a couple of wrap-up thoughts. Perhaps if we could put the Accedo QR code up on the screen, if we could. So if you're interested to understand more and engage with Boone and the team about Acedo's offering and what Compose is and how it works, please feel free to engage and connect with them. We have another segment coming up, so we just have a couple of minutes. I'm just interested, any sort of last thoughts from you, Bluin? Thank you for joining us. I really appreciate it. But any last thing you wanted to leave the viewers with before we wrap for the day?
No, thank you very much for having me. As you can hear, I can talk about this for hours. So I'll just leave it to David for the next segment. But I think I want to reiterate that this brings a new sort of a positive turn into a lot of industries that have been obviously focusing on trying to do more with less. And I think this is a shift. This is actually an opportunity for us to think differently and be back to creativity. And I think it's for some time, for the people that have been in the industry for as long as I have, would really we feel the innovation coming. So it's great to be part of that transformation. I'm really excited about this.
Thank you, Bluin. If we could pop up the QR code for feedback, thank you so much. So thank you. Please give us feedback on how you enjoyed the session and some important thoughts for next time. We are right on wrap time. I'm going to just 2 seconds from you, Jason. 1 second. Just I did see comments from a bunch of people from across the world. I'll address those in the kickoff of the next session in about 1 minute's time. So thank you very much. Any last thing from you, Jason, before we wrap?
No, just Bluin, thank you so much for joining us, and great seeing you a couple weeks back, and look forward to seeing you again soon.
A couple of days back. It's gone quickly, hasn't it? Bluin, great to see you. Good to see you, everybody. Thanks for joining us on Industries Live. We'll be back again shortly with the second half of our episode. Have a great morning. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. We are back for the second half of our Industries Live show for this morning. Welcome. My name is Michael Schmidt. I look after industry partnerships here at AWS, and I'm going to be joined, or I am joined here by Jason, and is my co-host. Had a fantastic first half, really enjoyed having Blue on, but the second half, we have David from Hydrolix, who is going to join us very shortly. Welcome to the show. If you're not on for the first half, Industries Live is our every other week program where we talk to our customers, our partners, about what they're seeing in the industry, what's going on for them in their business, opportunities to differentiate and disrupt, and more importantly, I think that the big theme that we're seeing a lot right now, and we're going to be talking a lot more about in the second half today, is Agentic AI, what we're seeing in the industry and the opportunities for our customers and partners. Jason and I just returned from IBC, the International Broadcasters Conference in Amsterdam. Last week, we saw a lot of very, very interesting media and entertainment use cases. We spoke with both of these two partners when we were at IBC, which was fantastic. So looking forward to digging a bit deeper. Please engage with us in the chat. Jason mentioned on the last broadcast, and I see a bunch of messages. I'm going to jump on a couple of the things that came up just quickly in a minute before we get to David. But let me start by saying I'm in Seattle. The sun is slowly rising. It is a lovely day in Seattle. Nice to be home after a pretty mixed weather week in Amsterdam. Jason, welcome. Jason's joining us from Chicago. I just need an update, weather update from Chicago. Can you see outside right now, or is it are you in your basement?
Weather update is good. I'll say a controversial take, which is I like the Amsterdam weather because I like to wear sweaters. So it was very sweater.
We do wear sweaters well, Jason.
Yeah, I know.
Jason has also a collection of tweed jackets and pants, and so he has his crazy professor look. Is day 3, right? The professor looks day 3, is that right?
Day 3. It'll make an appearance on Industries Live sometime, but we'll have to save it for a special episode.
It does. That is true. It gave the opportunity to wear some clothing that we haven't had to wear in the American summer. But I don't want to be too down on Amsterdam weather. Amsterdam is gorgeous. It's such a beautiful city. IBC is an amazing opportunity to spend a lot of time with our customers and partners, but it's a pretty cool place to spend that time being in Amsterdam. It's gorgeous and charming, and the people are wonderful, and the food's awesome. And so yes, it was definitely an inspiring week. Jason, maybe you want to tell the viewers your role at AWS?
For anyone new that's just joining, I'm a senior partner solutions architect. I focus on the media and telecom industries, especially on all things streaming media, which is the theme of the episode today. So it'll be great. We're going to talk. We just talked with Accedo, and next is going to be Hydrolix. And one of the themes of this episode, as Michael said, is Agentic AI. And one of the themes that we'll talk about in this session with David from Hydrolix is actually a demo that was featured and spotlighted on the AWS booth at the IBC conference just last week. And so we'll go into a bit of that because it was a great example of showing what is possible in AWS, but also with a partner ecosystem, which I always love that from being with Michael and I working with partners exclusively. It was great to see just showing how partners can integrate and deliver those great new outcomes for customers.
100%, Jason. I mean, one of the, just remind everybody, tell us where you are in the chat. Please engage with the chat, and I see a bunch of comments coming in. Just before we get to David, and we will just in 1 minute, but I just wanted to say, I see a lot of comments about, what are the opportunities in media entertainment? What are some of the use cases? What are we seeing customers and partners doing? Definitely what we saw last week, and what I'm hearing from a lot of our industry partners, is the opportunity to think about AI and Agentic AI, particularly as a business differentiator. I thought Bluen's walkthrough was really great, and David's is going to be very interesting very shortly. We saw a lot of use cases last week, and that probably was the highlight for me. Everything from analytics to compliance management, storyboarding, operations management. There's a great story about Formula One reducing the operational response time by like 80-something% to be able to ensure continuity in their live broadcasts. Yes, there's definitely also, particularly with the generative AI side of things, a lot of talk about content creation, and that is, definitely something that's very topical right now. We could have 2, 3, 4 industry live shows to talk about content creation with AI alone, and we're not going to do that today. That is a very, very big and complicated topic, so we won't get into that too much. In summary, there are an enormous number of very interesting opportunities and use cases that we're seeing emerge in media entertainment that are really going to change the game and create great opportunities for customers and partners to really accelerate their business. So, all right, Jason, let's bring in David. David, it is so nice to have you on. Welcome to the show. David, why don't you start by introducing yourself and perhaps just maybe 30, 45 seconds on Hydrolix and what it is, Hydrolix.
Sure. Thanks, everyone. Nice to see you. So I'm David Sztykman. I'm the VP of Product at Hydrolix. I'm in Paris, so if you like bad weather, today is actually pretty good for you. So if you want a sweater, definitely works out today in Paris. So Hydrolix is a streaming data lake company. So the idea of Hydrolix is really to focus on app-only data, so lots of logs, I would say, to be transparent. And the idea is to be able to ingest that at any scale, retain that information, and query that information in real time. And so that works really efficiently for a lot of different use cases and different ecosystem, I would say. The media one is a very large ecosystem in Hydrolix in the sense that when you're watching a Super Bowl, when you're watching Disney or anything like that, it's generating a ton of data, a ton of logs, and we're collecting all of that to make sense out of it. So that's basically what we do. Yeah.
Well, welcome, David. Welcome. It's great to have you. And it was exciting too, just because I felt it was relevant because we just had a great collaboration together to build the demo, but also just it's a great chance to meet you as a partner and dive in a little bit more into Hydrolix and talk about both Hydrolix and how you're seeing this evolving landscape, integration of AI, MCP servers, all of that. So we'll get into all of that in the conversation today. I'm curious, did you have any, coming back from IBC yourself, any insights you or the Hydrolix team had in terms of where, like, directional signs you're seeing? What are the prime topics that you took away?
I mean, it's fairly obvious, but like one of the big things that we've seen is AI is everywhere. AI is here to stay. And the question is more around what do we do with it? Like, how is it going to help us solve problem? Like, we're not building things with AI just for the sake of building things because it's trendy. The goal is really to make everyone's life easier. And so what is it that AI is going to solve from that point of view, from a user perspective? And that's really what the industry is thinking of right now, and how we can help really move faster and drive forwards innovation without like having a huge burden on manual tasks and repetitive tasks that we have to do. So it's quite interesting. And yeah, it was really, IBC was really big into it for sure. Yes.
I agree. I think I think for a lot of customers and partners, there's this sort of trying to differentiate between a hype cycle, kind of like, what is this really? I don't want to miss this boat, but at the same time, is this really going to, what is this really going to do for my business? And that pivot of thinking to say, there's an opportunity for me to really accelerate and do things. I mentioned the Formula One example before, which is an operational example of Agentic AI increasing or reducing the resolution time for operational incidents by 81%, I think was the number. I mean, that is a game-changing business.
It's massive.
And I think I'm seeing a lot more partners sort of thinking in those terms now, rather than thinking about, man, we'll try some stuff and we'll do a few proof of concepts and then we'll be able to tick that box and move on with our business. I did not get that flavor last week. I did not get that sense that customers were, giving it lip service and not sort of taking it, not thinking about it in more deep business terms.
For Hydrolix in particular, it's quite interesting in the sense that like we're a big data platform, and collecting data and retaining data is super important. But at the same time, not everyone likes SQL. Transparently, pretty much everybody hates SQL when you talk to them. And giving them the ability to ask questions directly to Hydrolix in natural language query is really a game changer. From that point of view, AI is really like a game changer. Like, we have business people that are not writing SQL that can just like talk to the database at the end of the day and ask questions and get answers in real time. And that really opens up a lot of use cases that I'm pretty sure we are not even thinking about yet. And that's really the exciting bits.
That'd be great. And I think, David, the Hydrolix is an interesting offering because it fills a a space within the market in terms of being able to query from like the longer times back in the times frame and such. Would you mind giving us just a little bit of context for the viewers that aren't as familiar with this about how the solution works, but then also how it integrates with other AWS components?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So like Hydrolix is coming from a place where when we built previous company with Marty Kagan, the founder of Hydrolix, one of the big issues that we had in this company was the amount of data that we needed to collect and retain. At some point, we were collecting 50 billion RUM measurement a day, which was a massive amount of data, and making sense out of that is difficult. And so the idea of Hydrolix was, let's build a stateless service that can scale up and down, ingest as we need, query as we need, and leverage S3 and object storage to store that data. If we do a good job of compressing that data and indexing that data, I will have the same query performance as local attached disk. And so the premise of Hydrolix was really to build a Kubernetes services which allows us to ingest really like app-only type of data, compress that data really well, push it into cloud storage, and then retrieve only the bits that we need when people need to query that data. And so typically when you're pushing 1 terabyte of data into Hydrolix, you end up with around 55 gigabytes of data into cloud storage. And so the differences in pricing between 1 terabyte of raw logs and 55 gigs in S3 is tremendous. And that means that now we can keep that data around. The big problem that most of the company have is really whenever they want to increase retention of that data, they need to either increase the size of the cluster, they need to add more capacity, and that has a cost associated with it, which is massive. And for us, increasing retention is literally just changing one flag and keep using object storage. And object storage is massive. We can really abuse object storage if you think about it. And so that's the big difference between all those systems, I would say.
Yeah, just being able to, and we'll get into it a little bit in the demo later, but just being able to leverage, you find that balance of being able to, the expandable object storage, but then also being able to query it sort of at a moment's notice, so to speak, kind of like you keep it, it doesn't become inaccessible, and
exactly
the value that can bring. Yeah,
that's the tricky bit. Like when you're thinking about object storage, you're thinking that the query performance is going to be impacted because the data is not in local disk anymore, right? And so the premise of Hydrolix was really, if we compress the data well enough, and typically we compress the data between 20x to 30x smaller than the raw data, it means that when I'm reading out of a gigabit a second out of S3, when I'm uncompressing in memory, I'm technically reading the data at 20 gigs, 30 gigs a second, right? Which is as fast as local attached disk. And so that really gives us the performance of the same performance as local disk, right? But the beauty of object storage is we can parallelize requests, and so we can add more compute and throw more compute at it to be able to achieve really high query performance. And so that's really the principle of Hydrolix is to basically be able to index data and query that data efficiently in real time. And so we've been doing.
Sorry, David. Could I just double click on just something you just said there? That's pretty compelling to have your read write at a speed that compares to local storage. What in terms of feedback you've had from your own customers? What is that? What workloads is that unlocking? What are the use cases and customer stories that you think are that have been challenging to date with this gap between the perception of read write performance locally and remotely? What's your
fundamentally, the one big thing that Hydrolix is known now is really for CDN monitoring, I would say. If you think about a streaming live event like the Super Bowl or something like that, you have millions of users that are getting video content, and the video content is small, it's 2 seconds video fragment, and so every few seconds you have millions of logs that are being generated. Most of the time, those broadcasters were not collecting that data because they actually thought it was impossible, or it would be way too expensive to collect it and retain it. And that really opened up the door to media and entertainment and gaming to be able to collect all the CDN logs directly in real time and put that into Hydrolix, and then get a sense of the quality of services that's being delivered by the CDN. One of the big thing, which was quite interesting, is you tend to think that the CDN is doing a good job of delivering your content at the edge. But usually, like, how do you know that? Besides like feedback from users, it's pretty horrible when people are calling you saying it's slow. And so you're telling them, okay, just give me a second. It's going to take me a couple of hours to pull the logs from the edge, put it into a database, and then be able to query it and get feedback. And what that means for users right now is because all of those data is coming directly into Hydrolix, when people are saying like, I've got poor performance or poor quality of services, I can see that in real time at any scale. And that's really a game changer for broadcaster to start with, but really for any company at the end of the day that's delivering massive content online.
And I think there's been some like pretty major scale plays in places in which Hydrolix has like played that major role in ingesting that huge volumes of data. Anything you can kind of talk about there?
Sure. So typically we work with Fox during the Super Bowl. And so Fox use multiple CDNs to deliver the Super Bowl. So they use CloudFront, obviously, a bit of Fastly, a bit of Akamai. And one thing that was quite interesting for them was to collect all the log from the different CDN and get the quality of services for each CDN across the US. And so when we're talking about like the Super Bowl scale, we're talking literally a terabyte a minute of log, which I know seems like, I mean, it is massive. Like it is a lot of data to crunch and to get feedback from. And so we leverage AWS platform to do that. So we had a Hydrolix cluster that was deployed across multiple regions to be able to accommodate ingesting all that data and giving them queryability in real time in that data.
Yeah, that, I mean, such a terabyte. You said it was a minute? A terabyte?
It's a terabyte a minute. Yeah.
It's pretty staggering. Yeah. And I think this starts to get us into a bit when we're talking about, you know, the value of this data, and then we could start to talk a little bit about what we showed at IBC, where it's you know, showing the value of the data that Hydrolix possesses, but then also how to access it. And I was wondering, would you want to talk a bit about one of the things you've rolled out recently is the ability to utilize an MCP server? And anything you want to talk about how that came together?
I mean, the main idea was like we had a lot of people that were saying like, so what can we do with AI and Hydrolix? And really, like the biggest part for us was to build a bridge so people can use whatever tool they wanted to query Hydrolix data. And MCP is really the right protocol to do that. So building an MCP server was really a nice way for any customer to be able to use any LLM they wanted to query Hydrolix data. But the tricky bit is when you're talking trillions of data points, it is really hard to query that data efficiently. And so what we were afraid of was really an LLM generating bad SQL or doing a select star across everything. That's really a bad idea across that amount of data. And so our MCP server is really built also to enforce good practice in querying Hydrolix data. And that allows customers to build really a lot of services on top of that efficiently.
And one thing I was thinking, if we could show that, we have like sort of a simplified view. It's not quite this simple behind the scenes, but if we could show that really quickly, and this at least helps to show a bit about the spirit of what we demonstrated, which was where you're, and I'll kind of like, so the way I had understood it was, so you have your orchestrator agent, and then that agent, that centralized agent, is able to pull data from the Hydrolix MCP servers. And there's also one of our other great partners, Mux, also has additional sort of quality experience data from the video player. David, you want to walk us through just like what that shows? And then maybe we could actually, should we actually maybe show the video and we could kind of talk
we can definitely
what that experience is like?
Do that. Yeah.
Okay, great.
So technically here what happened is like, this is a smart video assistant that's asking question to the Hydrolix data platform. Hydrolix is here technically ingesting all the logs from CloudFront here, and we are enriching those logs with session information, with quality of services information, with CMCD. And here what's going on is you have an agentic workflow that's technically querying Hydrolix data for a specific user session. So here I want to get information about user 22 session data. that's running a SQL queries directly generated by Amazon Q to get information about this user session. And then the beauty of having an agentic workflow means that I can mix that information with other data points. So here, technically, I'm seeing information about user 22, and I'm also getting information back from Mux, which is a different partner, about this user in particular. And even though the data doesn't live and exist in the same place, in the same location, we technically have an agentic workflow that's pulling information from 2 different MCP servers to get context and information back about that user in particular. I think yeah, that covers pretty much the video, and
and just being able to, for the folks that are just maybe beginning their understanding or knowledge about MCP servers, what really is nice is that it becomes that translation layer that's able to access these different data sources that otherwise historically, like you had said, this building the SQL queries and such like that, like some of those things that we can from like legacy workloads, legacy workflows, start to simplify that and automate some of that so that you're able to respond. And in that case, user 22, the example is having video experience issues, and you're able to get to that root cause quicker. And that could be super key in an event, a major event, like you had mentioned, like the Super Bowl or something like that, where sort of every minute counts in a live event. That can make a very big difference.
One of the funny bits was, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, David, what feedback have you had from your customers about publishing an MCP server? I know that's something that a lot of your customers and partners are also thinking about, is like, the journey of publishing an MCP server and how that changes ultimately your relationship with your end customers and their access to your data. So tell us a little bit about that.
It is quite funny because typically, like, our customers were really technical people that were like writing and reading information out of Hydrolix and monitoring really like quality of services and really specific things from Hydrolix data point. But since we released the MCP server, we now have CXO type of people that are just asking plain questions to Hydrolix. And so it opens up the conversation to a lot of different use cases that we didn't think about. We have a lot of people that are using Hydrolix for observability, but at the end of the day, like, it opens up this stack to more than just observability. You can have business report about like, this is the quality of services I'm having across the US, and I can generate a PDF out of that dynamically and push that out to people directly. And so it opens up a lot of interest into the type of data that we can collect and how much you can then generate and automate with that.
Great. And I was starting to look at these conversations always go by so quickly as we dive in to all the details. And I'm wondering, David, I know we have a slide at the end we could show just for people that want to know more. I think we have both more about Hydrolix, but then also if anyone wants to dive deeper into the demo we talked about. We just did a quick breeze by. So everyone there.
Yeah, exactly. So if you want to like look at the full demo and look at exactly the agentic workflow, that's the QR code on the right. And if you want to give Hydrolix a spin, we're available on the AWS marketplace, so you can just give it a go and start pushing your data into Hydrolix quickly. And with MCP and Bedrock, ask any question you want.
Love it.
Thanks, David. I was going to say that. I mean, that was fantastic. I mean, one of the things, again, I saw this question in the chat, is people saying, how do I get started? What are the things we should be thinking about? Like, one of the things we really aim to do in Industries Live is really bring the sort of tangible customer stories to the table and to talk about actual real world applications of it. So your story is fantastic. The demo is really amazing, and I'd really encourage people to engage with David and the team. Have if you want to see more of the demo, it's for both Hydrolix and for Accedo today. I think they are very compelling stories, and again, we didn't get you on by accident today. It was very powerful and successful on the AWS stand last week at IBC. Something we'll be no doubt working on together again in the future. So thank you very much, David. We really appreciate it. I know we're getting pretty low on time. I cannot believe how quickly 30 minutes goes past. David, I wanted to just give you the opportunity, like, any last words you wanted to leave with our viewers, just from your point of view. Obviously, I can imagine for you as it was for us last week, the last sort of 10 days have been a lot has happened. So just interested in any sort of last minute or last thoughts, reflections from yourself.
I think one of the big revelations for me at IBC was how much everyone is building around MCP and how much agentic workflow are going to allow you to automate a lot of tasks. And one thing that will be quite powerful is like you're seeing, for example, a token that's being reshared across users and be able to automatically blacklist that users from a CDN point of view. And that's really where I think the industry is moving towards, is really with those agentic workflow, is to automate a lot of tasks rather than like have dashboard and look at it manually and then do an alert and triggering that manual task. I really think that the agentic workflow is going to switch to automate a lot of those tasks. So similar to like SOAR for security, I think we're going to get there really quickly, and that's quite interesting.
Yeah, I think that's it. Yeah, we talked a lot about video operations and like operational efficiency, but I think content security and the challenge of CDA unleashing, where not only are you as a provider, your content's going away for free, but you're paying maybe the bill for that. So that's
bill for that. Yeah,
it's doubly painful. So that's another really important one for the industry.
No worries. Can we put up the feedback QR code? We are at time. I cannot believe how quickly an hour goes past. Please give us feedback. We love to hear what you're enjoying, what you want to see more of. Today's episode was really great. I really enjoyed it. I mean, anytime we're talking about something that's really top of mind for everybody in the industry, and we're cutting to real world stories of impact, that lights me up. I love that. So thank you, David, so much for your time, and Bluin for her in the first half. Again, look forward to seeing you all next time, every other Tuesday on Industries Live. We love you. We love your contributions and your engagement, and we appreciate your time. Thank you for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you next time. See you, Jason. See you, David.
Hey, everyone.
Have a great day, everybody.